What's going on, everybody? Victor here with a brand new video, and I'm going to be talking about on today's video the rematch that everybody's been wanting to see for years now. Israel Adesanya 21 versus Marvin Vettori 17-4-1. Obviously, these guys both fought each other a couple years back. This was Israel Adesanya's second fight in the UFC, and Marvin Vettori took him to the absolute limit. Marvin Vettori was able to get the first takedown against Israel Adesanya in his UFC career. And when Israel got this fight against Marvin Vettori, we all thought this was a huge jump up for him. And a lot of us didn't really think that he was going to win this matchup because of how skilled and how talented Marvin Vettori was at that time, and how green Israel Adesanya was in the mixed martial arts world at that time as well, getting a second fight in the highest promotion in the whole entire world, and the most hardest promotion to even get into when it comes to not only getting into it but also staying in there for many, many years. But Israel Adesanya over the years has grown tremendously, has become more of a mixed martial artist, more of a well-rounded fighter and individual, which is why he's been basically knocking out people left and right, getting these victories left and right. He got rid of Paulo Costa in the second round. He got rid of Robert Whittaker in the second round. He got rid of Derek Brunson in the first round. He almost got rid of Kelvin Gastelum. He's been getting rid of guys left and right. The last guy that Marvin Vettori was able to finish was Carl Roberts a couple years back via rear naked choke in the year 2020 in the midst of this pandemic. So there are a lot of things that these guys have to basically prove coming into this fight. Is that did Israel Adesanya really win that fight convincingly? In my opinion, I say yes, because his striking was the X factor during that fight. But Marvin Vettori was able to get multiple takedowns against Israel Adesanya. But the problem was is that he never did anything with those takedowns, and Israel Adesanya kept getting back up and kept striking and kept hitting him. And as he won that fight via split decision. It was a close fight in the eyes of the judges. In the eyes of the fans, maybe not. But this fight did take place about 2-3 years ago. I say, actually no, 3 to 4 years max in Glendale, Arizona. This was a fight night that was headlined by two of the most best lightweights in the whole entire world, Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier, and it was a great fight night. But those guys were fighting on that main card during that night, and it was a great fight. It was a back and forth affair, and the problem I did have with Marvin is that his striking did get a little sloppy. He was trying to get into this personal space of Israel Adesanya, get all nice and close so he can be able to make Israel feel uncomfortable, try to go in for the takedown, and which he was able to succeed in a couple of times. But like I said, Israel's striking was very good at that point, and it has only increased from there. It's only evolved from there, especially mixed martial arts. When we talk about experience, it obviously goes to Israel Adesanya. He has more than 100 professional combat fights in his whole entire career. He used to be a kickboxer, had multiple fights there. I believe he had about 70, 80 fights. Now he has 21 fights in his mixed martial arts career. Actually, I say he had more than 80 fights in his kickboxing career and 21 fights here. So he has about 100 to 102 combat sports fights in general in all. So Israel Adesanya has been battle tested from the very, very early ages in his life. He started kickboxing as a teenager, then became a professional when he became an adult, and then things have just been rising ever since. Former Glory champion, and as we all know, Glory is basically is the cream of the crop when it comes to professional kickboxing. If you want to be the best in the world, you want to go to Glory. He won the Glory. He won a belt in Glory. Decided he wanted to take this talents to MMA, and he's been doing great ever since. Suffered his first loss to Jan Blachowicz, who is the UFC light heavyweight champion of the world. And Izzy took him to the limit. The only problem with Izzy is that he basically surrendered a lot of weight and a lot of size in that fight. And whenever Jan got that takedown, multiple takedowns, Izzy wasn't able to get back up because of all that weight that was on him. In the middleweight division, there's barely been anyone to ever take down Israel Adesanya besides Kelvin Gastelum, who was able to take him down during that 5-fight war that they had for the interim middleweight championship of the world, and Marvin Vettori. But like I said, ever since that fight, Izzy has made leaps and bounds, and he has evolved tremendously. And Marvin Vettori has also evolved as well. But if you ask me who's going to win this fight right off the bat, I don't see how Marvin Vettori is going to win it. His last fight against Kevin Holland, it was sloppy. Kevin Holland took that fight on 2 weeks' notice, and Marvin was just getting blasted with the strikes. He kept on eating them, and obviously his face was pretty much swollen in the first 2 rounds. Every single time that they started the fight, each round, those first couple of seconds before Marvin kept on getting those takedowns, because if we all know Kevin Holland, his takedown defense isn't the best. He kept on getting blasted by Kevin Holland's strikes, and Kevin Holland is definitely an elite striker in his own right, and he was just blasting Marvin Vettori every single time that they started each round on the feet, and Marvin did not have an answer for it except for getting those takedowns. If Kevin Holland would have had supreme takedown defense, he would have won that fight, and I even think he could have been able to defeat Marvin Vettori by finishing him, because that's how different their striking strategies were. That's how different their striking skills were. Kevin Holland was up here with his striking. Marvin Vettori was down there. Marvin Vettori was all the way up here with his wrestling. Kevin Holland was all the way down there. So it's basically kind of like that pendulum scale, for crying out loud. You obviously, when you put something heavier and something light, they're obviously going to shift. But then when you reverse the roles, they're going to shift again in the opposite direction. That's exactly what happened in the fight with Kevin Holland and Marvin Vettori. And then Marvin Vettori did have a problem on the feet against Jack Hermansson, but he was able to will his fight through that. He was able to will his way through that fight and win that whole entire war. He had a war against Jack Hermansson, knocked him down, could have got the finish, but he tried going for a submission instead of continuing with the ground and pound in that first round. And as a result, he had to suffer a good amount of punishment going into that fifth and final round, where he won by unanimous decision. Israel Adesanya, he doesn't like to go the full distance. He likes to get his opponents out of there. And if Marvin Vettori was getting starched by Kevin Holland, who took that fight on 2 weeks' notice, then Israel Adesanya is going to starch him, but not only just starch him, but finish the fight as early as possible. I think that Israel Adesanya is going to finish this fight in the first 3 rounds. I say 2 rounds, 3 rounds max, but he is going to finish this round. This fight is not going to go the distance. Israel Adesanya's striking is going to be the X factor once again, and Marvin Vettori is going to come in here. He's going to try everything in his power to try to get the takedown, but Israel Adesanya is going to stuff each attempt. And every single time Israel Adesanya he defends against the takedowns, every single time he stuffs a takedown, you're just going to see Marvin Vettori's confidence dwindle and decrease after each and every single takedown attempt is going to get stuffed by Israel Adesanya. His takedown defense has been amazing throughout his time in the UFC and evolving inside of that middleweight division. And Marvin, like I said, his striking is nowhere compared to Israel Adesanya's. And then he's also going to be giving up a huge reach advantage, a 6-inch reach advantage, as well as a 3-inch height advantage as well. That is just a combination for misery. And Kevin Holland basically had the same advantages against Kevin Holland, but like I said, the takedowns are just the difference. But I don't see Israel Adesanya getting taken down during this fight. He's going to start Marvin Vettori with a barrage of leg kicks, most likely calf kicks, going low first, and then ending out high with the head kicks, whether it's a front kick, a back kick, or a roundhouse kick. And I don't believe that Marvin's going to be able to adjust to the speed and the power that Israel Adesanya possesses. The only way that he can be able to win this fight is with the takedown and being able to do something with the takedowns, but I just don't see him getting these takedowns done. Overall, Israel Adesanya is going to win this fight, and if Marvin Vettori wants any way of winning this, then he's going to have to stay on the feet with Israel. He's going to have to use his distance, or sometimes maybe even get in close range and get so close to Israel that his punches won't really be that effective. Try to grapple him, try to get a bear hug in there, or try to go for some sort of Imanari roll or anything unusual that Israel Adesanya has not seen inside the octagon in order to take him down. Because if you just go for a regular single leg takedown or a double leg takedown, Israel Adesanya is going to stuff that. He's mostly going to reverse the position and get you down on the floor and finish you via ground and pound. I believe Israel Adesanya is going to get a KO finish in the second round, and I think he's going to get it done via combination. And it's going to be a beautiful combination at that. So I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Who do you guys think is going to win this fight? And if so, by what? And what other fights would you like to see inside of that middleweight division? And if Israel Adesanya does win, do you guys want to see him go back up to the light heavyweight division, but not fight for the title? Fight someone that's in that top eight. I'd say top eight. If not, would you guys like to see him face Jared Cannonier left? And that's pretty much the only guy aside from Darren Till that he has not faced yet in that division. That's an interesting matchup. So like I said, I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Stay tuned. I got a couple more left because this week has got some great matchups. Later, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay blessed.